Welcome, worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King S.1 hollering at you one more again. Yes. Another beautiful day. Thank you all, family. I love you all. Welcome. Another episode of Buildin with Big King. I see you coming in, family. Thank you. I love you all. Come on in. Let's have a conversation tonight. All right. Yeah, we're going to give a few seconds, little time for everybody to come on in. Meanwhile, free soul alignment. On the chat. Free soul alignment. So I'm going to play this real quick. We got Cupid, holla. All right. I forget whose code name that is or whatever, but welcome. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you. I appreciate you announcing yourself real quick. Truly. Often I play a little something from my album while we waiting on folks to chime in. So let me grab something real quick. This is one of the songs off my album titled Flexible. We like to be that. I'm going to play that real quick while everybody's chiming in. All right. Dropping facts. Come on in, folks. How do you chill? How do you deal when this ish gets way too real? You maybe need a breath, probably need a second. Bad decision, ran your life right out in the intersection. You ain't doing that. You about to think first, instead of lusting on that demon in the mini skirt. You like the other skirt with the righteous queen. She living right mind tight, keep it sexy. I be's the righteous dude with a good heart. So equality respect you from the very start. Must have a good time. See, that's a peak game. Being comfortable in your skin, sure beats fame. Go smell a wildfly, make a deep change. Mentally elevate, seek balance and maintain. The work schedule got you locked into it a little longer. Gotta chill a little sometimes. The pressure's gonna get stronger. You know. But get your mind right and chill. Sky's bright with the sunlight plaster. Hit the part just to spark a arc as the timeline goes faster. I'm laid back, way cool, really relaxed. All of this from the future. Yeah. Real route that we can all take. Adapt to change back. Just flex, but don't break. Flexible. I'm Mr. Natural, like nature boy. I appreciate surroundings on this planet with joy. I love a sunny day. I love a snowy scene. I enjoy a fall day in my football team. I like the spring flowers and the ladies too. Somehow they seem more tantalizing when the season is due. See, here in Pittsburgh, we feel full seasons. We can appreciate the change as the primary reason. We got different styles for different times of year. Highland Park, we love the party, and it sure seems clear. It's a benefit to adapt with change. Keep an open mind, and nothing seems that strange. Cupid, I hope you just went to get some refreshments, and he's coming back with me. Come on back. About to open it up to subject matter here. Very important conversation today. Very important, as always.
Hey, man, you gotta know I'm going to enjoy life every moment of this beautiful thing. Man. So this was a song, again, titled Flexible, off my album, PLR New Paradigm, on all the popular streaming sites, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, etc., etc. Please check that out. Thank you so much, folks. All right, worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King S.1 hollering at you one more again. Man, welcome. We have another fabulous conversation again today. It's been a beautiful day. You know, one of those beautiful spring days. It's transitional. We had a good bit of precipitation today, not all day, right? But a good bit. And in between then, that just cooled it just a bit, you know, but it was comfortable. It's been a comfortable day. True indeed. All right, all right. I see you in there, brother. I thank you. I thank you. Thank you for letting me know you're here hollering back at the Big King. True indeed. But yeah, it's been a beautiful day, man. It's probably good sleeping weather for a lot of people, right? True that. But a beautiful day for us to get together and have another. I gotta just commend y'all, all of you, so much for the conversations that we've been able to have so far. This is my 11th episode, which is magnificent. And the conversations have just been intelligent and thought provoking, and people have really been putting, um, putting thought and conscious intent into our interaction in this platform that we've utilized to share with one another. And this, I'm just grateful for it. This is absolutely beautiful. So thank you. Please, everybody, take a bow because you earned that. One time, you. All right. Okay. Listen, but thank you, folks. I want to talk to you today about something very important, and we'll still keep a good vibe while we do talk about something. I know, bro. I can't help it, man. You know, I like to feel y'all make me feel so at home, and I know that this is a family that we have established, so we can conversate and talk to one another about important things and still maintain some levity, right? Still make sure that we're keeping a high vibe and able to feel good about life, because these things, that we talk about and deal with in these conversations, we don't just, you know, sit back and allow to fly over our head. We grasp it. We make sure that we, digest it and get to a point where we can decide what action we want to take on our own, right? But the fact that we're able to discuss these things in collective effort is powerful, and the things that we're able to bounce off each other and share is I love that. So thank you again. Thank you all. All right. So today I want to talk about a very important subject. If you noticed it on your way in, so to speak, I'm talking about harmful tech, and I notice I didn't say potentially harmful. Everybody, please, when you come in, just say what's up one time, or allow me the opportunity to say hi to you or say what's up to you, and welcome to the conversation. I appreciate you tremendously. Thank you for being here. Please stay. All right. I see we coming in more and more. Everybody, please, again, welcome to just announce yourself in the chat. You don't have to necessarily say anything other than that if you don't want to, but we would love to just say hi to you, welcome you to the conversation. True indeed. So we're talking about not potentially, but definitely harmful technology being used in public, but more importantly, in our neighborhoods, right? And also around our families. Now, I'm always observant, right? As I'm going around from neighborhood to neighborhood, you know, which I do sometimes. Those who know me know that I do sometimes take some really long walks, right? I just put in not a record breaker the other day, but one that had a lot of people uh scratching their heads like, really, bro, you just did that? When I walked from downtown to Verona, downtown Pittsburgh to Verona, PA, for anybody not local. It's a nice walk, right? But it gives me an opportunity. I, by the way, didn't feel tired in the slightest when I got here. I mean, I felt that, I guess, a little bit, but not really like, you know, oh my goodness, I'm finally here. I felt great. Felt great. But along the way, I'm always noticing, right? What's going on in the environment around me and the neighborhoods around me, because that's what it is, folks. What, 11 episodes and you're not going live on TikTok? A lot of people need to hear you speak. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Just that sentiment is appreciated, truly. I've had some issues with TikTok. My attempts at usage on that platform previously. But you know what? Given the fact that so many people I notice do peek in, so to speak, on TikTok, I'll look into that. Okay, I'll definitely do that. But yeah, getting back on what the subject is, and then I'm gonna open it up and read everybody's comments and questions off the chat. But I've noticed the proliferation, right, of a lot of very powerful, okay, and very dangerous technology in our neighborhoods. Have you looked at the tops of buildings in your neighborhood lately? Right? And I'm talking about not just commercial buildings, even churches, schools, right? You see, in a lot of cases, 5G cell towers in these places where we never would have perceived to see that. I mean, literally mounted to the building, right? In a lot of neighborhoods, I'm noticing, unfortunately, you know, people have gardens, right? There's towers even, you know, in places that are pretty close approximation to their garden. I'm noticing them certainly near a lot of people's houses or you know, their yard, the area around their house. Even, and this is probably what drew my alarm like way up, okay? Even on water towers, okay? Now, before I even go into the information that I have prepared for you all through my research, and this is just a little of my research, I'll give great credit to the gentleman who I love to give credit to, Dr. Delbert Blair, right? Who's one of my real inspirations. the late great Dr. Delbert Blair, who told us all about the dangers of the proliferation of 5G technology. And he's not alone in that, but certainly the leader, or one of the first people I ever heard given a detailed warning on this. I mean, before the tech was even launched, he was telling us this is coming out, and it's going to. This is some of the dangers associated with it. This is probably not a good idea, and this is why, right? So I gotta, always salute him and give him props and credit for doing that. But there are a lot of other experts who have chimed in and given some very, very powerful information. And a lot of the information that I'm going to provide to you today, I want to take a hat off, so to speak, and give props to Dr. Deborah Davis, who is the head of the Environmental Health Trust. And she has put together a presentation on 5G cellular technology that I would recommend all of you look into. It's very powerful, and I'm going to be giving a little bit of information from that, as well as certainly information that I've gotten from Dr. Delbert Blair and my own research, right? Looking into it. It's not hard, folks, if we really just start to, look into these things ourselves. The information is not hiding. It really can't anymore. This is the information age, and it is there for us when we put a little effort into looking for it, right? But yeah, that was one of the most dangerous and alarming locations of this technology that I could have possibly seen. When I noticed this, I saw it one time in a neighborhood years ago, when I was working for an organization that did a lot of door-to-door or sort of grassroots talking to folks in their neighborhoods all around Western Pennsylvania, right? And I noticed it then, and it didn't sit right with me. And I talked to the people in that neighborhood, and they had a lot of precarious feelings about having that kind of technology around their water supply, right? And I've noticed it a lot more lately, where you have these devices affixed directly to the water tower, not just to the tower itself, but up on the bubble, the part that actually contains and holds the water. Now, folks, if nothing else, just common sense. We got to think for a second. We know that electromagnetic fields are produced by this kind of technology. If you just look at the transformer at the bottom of the tower, you see it's a high level of electricity being used. This is high wattage we're talking about, right? This is not like low level output. So there's a powerful electromagnetic field by even just one of those devices. They actually had 3 of those devices placed around the tank, okay, the actual water tank, in a configuration that would give you a three points, like a pyramid. Now, anybody in sort of the metaphysics community will tell you that a triangle is a tool used for concentrated thought, for focus, right? For focus of intent. Wow. And then, just in terms of physics, think about the field that's being created with 3 points, right? You're now closing in a complete field around that entire tank. And this is the water that's going into the community, into the neighborhood, to your families. Folks, this is, to me, that just drew an automatic flag. Like if I lived anywhere near there, I'd have been right there when they were installing it. Like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Probably with a group of my neighbors, voicing our concerns and hopefully preventing that installation. But anyway, I want to preface this also a little bit with, like, I've done on the spot research with this, folks. Like, I've spoken to several of the installation crews while they're installing this technology, and you might be quite surprised the interaction that we've had. They were quite forthcoming. Was a little bit surprising to me, actually. Several of them voiced their own concerns. I had one of them say to me, man, honestly, aside from the fact that, this is steady work this helping me provide for my family, I kind of don't like this job, particularly the installation of this equipment, because I know it's dangerous. And he went on to tell me about areas where they installed the technology and it would be near a tree, right? And I believe there's even videos or posts about this on YouTube or some other platform that you can see similar accounts where the bark of the tree has completely fallen off in the area close to where the signal was radiating out to. But on the other side of the tree, where the signal is not being directed at, the bark is the tree's completely healthy and fine. Folks, Dr. Blair explained that this technology propagates what's known as millimeter waves. All right. And you can look into it and verify he was in fact accurate. It employs these very choppy millimeter waves, right? That don't have elongated wave span and really need a lot of sort of intercept points or bouncing points where they bounce off of towers or other receptors, so to speak. And they literally require a much higher proliferation of the actual towers or the devices that you'll see affixed to like poles and whatnot, right? The millimeter waves are much more high frequency, first of all, and much more pushed by a much more powerful wattage, right? And they provide just exactly what they said they do: more power, faster speed. How do you think that's accomplished, right? Well, actually, I take that back. It can be accomplished in a number of ways, but the way that they've accomplished it here is very irresponsible in the development of the technology, and I'll explain why in a moment. Ma V, welcome. Thank you, sis, for joining us again today. We appreciate you and welcome you to the conversation. We're talking about harmful technology that I'm seeing, we all are seeing proliferated a lot more in our neighborhoods and around our families, right? I started to talk about how we're seeing really heavy tech deployed even or attached to buildings that we traditionally wouldn't see, like not just commercial buildings, but buildings like churches, and schools, right? Daycares, even. Think about that. Daycares, right? Um, we're really seeing, Brother Sean, welcome. Thank you for coming and chiming in and being with us today. Please welcome to the conversation as we talk about these harmful. I hope everybody saw the subject matter on the way in as we talk about these harmful technologies that are in our neighborhoods, right? And we're seeing proliferated much more in non-traditional ways or in non-traditional places, not just on commercial buildings, but on places like churches and schools, even daycares. And I've been talking momentarily ago about how I've been seeing them more on water towers, right? And there's usually 3 devices that are placed in triangular configuration around the water tower, creating a very powerful electromagnetic field. All right. And proliferating um, these choppy millimeter waves that emit pulse radiation. That's where I was going with the millimeter wave reference. They emit this pulse radiation, right? And it's very erratic and irregular. It's like more like, right? Wreaks havoc on your nervous system. Okay. Um, look, again, folks, don't just rely on me. Do your own free thinking research, and we can chop it up some more. I'm certainly interested to see what you find. I'm sure you'll find more of what I'm reporting, but I'm going to get into, again, specifically some information, not just that we got from Dr. Delbert Blair. Thank you again, brethren, because he brought us warnings about this technology before it was even launched, right? Before most of us even knew what 5G was, he was already warning us, telling us the several elements about it, right? The fact of these millimeter waves being of a very dangerous frequency, and the way that they're proliferated is very dangerous to our nervous system. It does not interact well even with organic matter. I told the story a little while ago that was reiterated to me in person. Like, just so you know, folks, I've gone out and done research speaking to these installation crews, several of them, right? Not just in neighborhoods, even right downtown Pittsburgh, when I saw the installation of the tower that they put at the corner of Liberty and 7th, right? I had a long conversation with the installation crew, and they were actually quite forthcoming. And again, one of the individuals shared with me a story that echoed what I had seen previously online about how these millimeter waves emitted, right? The pulse radiation emitted does not react or interact well with organic matter, i.e., like us, right? And also like trees, for example. And he told me how it literally knocked the bark right off of the tree, instantly killed a section of the tree, you might say. And the rest of the tree was fine and healthy, but it just like took the bark right off, right? This technology has dangers. If you think about it, here's another danger just in the way it was released. It's fast-tracked, folks. It was a fast-track technology, which is something that if you read my book, peace, love, respect, this is the new way. I talked about the FDA's usage recently and the ramping up in the increasing frequency of their usage of the fast track system. Folks, it's just another way of saying that they're not taking the necessary precautions and they're not allowing for the amount of time that should be given before something is allowed to be widely dispersed to the public to figure out its long-term implications, right? Um, sure, we may see that it's viable and something that could be used or within safe parameters, which it should be completely safe as around me and mine, right? And I'm sure you feel that way about you and yours. But anyway, it's all done nowadays through this fast track in very short-term research basis, right? Let alone, don't get me started on the I won't get started on that. I won't even say the word, but you all know what I mean about the shots. Anyway, these fast tracks don't allow for the proper safety research that should be done before these things are allowed to be widespread to the public. And certainly, it's no different when we talk about 5G technology and the way they knew that because of the nature of these choppy millimeter waves, they would have to have a lot more towers and a lot more devices. I mean, a lot more. Like, I think they even anticipated something like 10 times more the devices and cell phone towers and whatnot that would have to be deployed in order to keep the same kind of usage areas, right? Because of the nature of these choppy millimeter waves. Well, all right. Along with my research and what we've had revealed from Dr. Delbert Blair, I'm going to present to you again with some notes I've taken from the research submitted by Dr. Deborah Davis, head of the Environmental Health Trust. So, again, please look into this on your own. But one of the things she right away asked the audience to do is something I'm gonna ask you all to do. Many of you have iPhones. Go into your iPhone, go into the general area, go into settings, scroll down to a section called legal and open that up. And you'll notice that in that section, and even there's something similar in most Androids as well, folks. So it may depend on the particular device you have, but if you look enough for it, you'll find this legal section, right? And you'll see in it, I'm gonna open up to questions in 1 second. We about to open this up, but I'm gonna present this stuff real quick from Dr. Davis. That's a good one, bro. Thank you. I am going to address that about the effects of 5G. So there is a sort of, what do you call it? A disclaimer and a warning that they give you right in your phone that they warn you against prolonged usage. You can't just use these phones all the time like most of us do, right? They even warn you against having it on you or in your pockets, right? Folks, if there were no danger to these technologies, they would not go through having a legal section giving you disclaimers and warnings about prolonged exposure, right? And about having it on your person or in your pockets. Just On a common sense level, let's think about that. Okay. Um, and there are actual limits that they start to talk about in that legal section. Also, understand that there is very little difference between microwave waves, like the waves that are put off or used by a microwave oven, and what your cell phone produces. Do you know that the way microwaves were developed were essentially from sailors noticing that they could cook things with radar, right? And eventually the technology was industrialized to the point that that's, in a very basic way, that's essentially what microwave ovens are: focused radar waves, right? Onto your food. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm not going to have a whole microwave conversation, but just know that the only difference between those waves and the waves put out by your cell phone that's right on you is the wattage, right? And the delivery. There is a much more powerful wattage, of course, used by the microwave oven. I mean, otherwise, we would like instantly be having people cooking their faces off when they use a cell phone. So that's obvious. Doesn't mean it's safe for prolonged use. Okay. Also, um, the delivery of the signal that's needed by your cell phone requires a pulse delivery system, right? So you're receiving that radiation in a different way. It's pulse radiation, which again is very erratic, right, and irregular, which is not good, not only for your nervous system picking all that up, but doesn't resonate well for the way it stores in your psyche and other effects it could have on your psyche. Folks, there's so much more research that really should be done into this to be responsible. It's ridiculous, but they just throw it out to you because they know it'll do what they want it to do. All right. Um, so there is that pulse distribution and the difference in wattage, and that radiation is going right to your brains, folks. Every time you put your cell phone up to your head, or forbid, um, that you have those pods in your ears or the ear beads or buds, right? What some people walk around with them in their ears all day long. Now, when you got, it's bad enough to have one, but when you have both of them, you have now created, and this specifically, Dr. Blair warned about this as well. You've now created a harmful electromagnetic field with your brain trapped in the middle. Okay? Um, so there is, unfortunately, not enough research just simply done on long-term exposure to these things, or not just the radiation itself and the millimeter waves, but the erratic and irregular pulse um, delivery method that's used in the transmission of these signals. Deep stuff, folks. There have been, however, a lot of research and studies done on the effects of other animals like rats. They've even done research on um, the effects of exposing rats prenatally to these signals. and have seen the difference in behavior in the rat, right? And we're talking about things like their ability to make their way through a maze, simple stuff, right? That's like, how do you track the effects on the behavior of an animal like a rat? Well, like things like the maze, right? And they're completely unable to do what was previously a sort of a simple function to them. There's so much damage. They've even taken, not only in rats, but even in humans, and taken pictures of the brain. And even not only just, I don't want to be that broad and narrow. They've gone on and taken images of your cells in your brainstem and seeing the differences in the actual cellular damage that is done by these millimeter waves and this pulse radiation. I'm telling you, folks, it's not a question as to whether or not it's harmful. It's as to how harmful and what do you consider to be acceptable limits for you and your family. To me, that kind of language was always cautionary, acceptable limitations or acceptable ranges, acceptable exposure. Acceptable to who? The populationists who want to knock us off to the point that we only have 500 million folks left on the planet? Is that who? I ain't gonna get started. All right. Anyway, there is conclusive evidence that children and younger people absorb this radiation at higher levels, or more intrinsically at the cellular level. So it's even more harmful to our teenagers and children, and certainly our infants. Okay. We have evidence that just like in just the same way that liquids and fat cook faster in microwaves, you have that much more increased impact at the cellular level in the water in your body and the fats which store there's fats everywhere in your body, even in your brain, right? That the signal interacts with. Similar to folks, this is very dangerous. There's studies that have shown, clear studies that have shown damage, fellas, to your sperm and your sperm count. Lowered sperm count has been directly attributed to carrying cell phones in your pockets and having them near your genitalia. Ladies, the same thing is true of the development. First of all, they see, because the way your cells of your breast carry the liquid on a very porous, it's that much easy for them to see the cellular damage that's done, and also the increase in certain types of cancers in the breast, and unfortunately often metastatic, right? Meaning that it ends up spreading to other organs as the result of these cell phones. So much so that they've even done specific studies where individuals have shown actual, like normally in a breast cancer patient, you would have the tumors deeper in the breast, right? Where these tumors are, unfortunately, and they're talking about a specific individual in this study, right near the surface, which shows the correlation of having it near the skin, the foam, and get this, actually near the contact points. Like if you were to take the tumors, these really small tumors, and like draw a line, you almost outline the phone. Don't take my word for it, folks. Check into the research yourselves. All right. But I'm gonna get ready to open this up. And there is a couple of things that I want you to always to think about though when we continue to discuss this. Even when we don't have our cell phones in use, they're always pinging. They're always searching for a signal. They're looking for cell phone towers and they're saying to the cell phone towers, I'm here. So there's a relay of signals that's always going on. You'd be so even not when not in use, folks, that is happening over 900 times per minute. 900 times per minute that these waves are moving through your body, that you've got your cell phone somewhere on you. And let's think about the other end. Remember, I told you and talked to you about how they have these devices now in all these places, even non-traditional places like churches, schools, nurseries, right? Daycare centers, okay? And right on water towers, okay? Creating this electromagnetic field that now has these signals, right? And every time these signals, this pinging occurs, the wattage spikes as well, okay? In the field that is created and has your water right in the middle of it. 900 times per minute. It's happening to your water, the water in your body, okay? 900 times a minute, folks. This technology has not nearly, been studied enough for us to deem it safe for our neighborhoods and families, right? And already what we know of it poses intense and serious dangers, right? That we cannot ignore. I'm gonna go into opening this up a little bit and getting into the conversation, folks. Again, welcome everybody. And I need to know what y'all are thinking about this. This is a very obviously important subject and affects all of us, right? I don't think any of us could say that we don't have cell phones, certainly, and a lot of other forms of devices where these signals are going in and out of very rapidly at 900 times per minute at least, right? And in devices like laptops, you now have two-way pulse radiation, right? So when you have that, there's a reason why they call them laptops, and in instruction, they're placed on a desk or some form of a table. You actually shouldn't have it on your lap, folks, because you're now putting that two-way millimeter microwave radiation in close proximity to your genitalia and other organs. Folks, we have to apply a certain measure of common sense to all this. There is an inherent responsibility that is on us to do so, not only of a research manner, but just the way that we live our lives, right? Okay, so jumping in real quick, it's Karma. What do you think are some of the effects of 5G? Well, we talked a little bit about that. Um, how about wired or cord headphones? Wired technology versus wireless technology has proven to be much safer in many instances than the wireless technology that relies on that kind of two-way relay. That two-way signal radiation does occur in that environment. But I'm gonna jump to Mavi. Mavi says there are at least 150 FCC registered towers in Wilkinsburg, PA alone. Did you hear that? Thank you, Mavi. Thank you for that information. The sister just said there are at least 150 FCC registered towers in Wilkinsburg, PA alone. She goes on to say almost every child has some device for school, and we know that to be true. In fact, in many instances, the children are like instructed by the school, right? It's like part of the curriculum for them to have these tablets, and many times dispersed by the tablets, right? Where there's no actual warning given to the parents or even the children for that matter to not actually use the computers on their laps. Okay, folks. Excuse me. We absolutely have to look out for our families because they don't care, right? I'm gonna go back in. As Karma comes in and says, "Why do all this? What do you think the reasoning for?" So, okay, in other words, he's saying, why do we live in a society where we even have to worry about the proliferation of, I think that's essentially what you're saying, of so much dangerous technology? Like, what's the motivation behind these things being made available to us? And that's a good question that we should be asking. Why does this get fast tracked past the FDA, right? Why does it get fast tracked past the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency? Why does it make its way into our children's hands? Why is it marketed to our children in such an irresponsible way? We got to think about these things, right? What's the motivation for these things to occur? Mavi comes in and says, and when I say child, I mean anyone in school, because this is true whether you are in first grade or in a PhD program. True indeed. It does range all the way from kindergarten to the collegiate student. It's ridiculous, right? The proliferation of this technology, and actually the way it's being mandated to our children in response to education, right? What if you don't want to educate your child in that manner or have them exposed in what could be an irresponsible way? There was another example I wanted to bring up. Oh, speaking of that, now that was an excellent point you made, Mavi, about how this is being essentially forced on our children in terms of their education. Do you know that they're now pushing this kind of usage or interface with technology down to the infant level? They got potties with tablets like built into the potty. And there's like stimuli and incentives being given to the child on the potty of an electromagnetic nature. When we already talked about how harmful these waves are to the genitalia. And we're going to put it right on the potty for the child. I mean, How irresponsible could we be seeing this technology be deployed? It's ridiculous. Tell me what you think, folks. To me, that kind of blew me away to actually know that not only are our children being exposed to this, like in like the schools and all over um, all over our environment in very normalized ways, right? Um, but to know that they would actually stoop so low as to create potties for children to sit down on and have their genitalia exposed to these dangerous choppy millimeter waves. Come on, folks. To any kind of technology, why do you have, where are we going with our usage and interface with technology when we're making potties with laptops built into them? Please, somebody chime in on that. Please, please, somebody chime in on that. I can't be the only person who's who's alarmed by this, right? Um, let's start to think a little bit about other ways that technology is being harmfully deployed all around us, right? We talked about on the water towers. What about the computers that we have now in just about every kind of um, kitchen device or what's the word I'm not thinking about, y'all? Like your refrigerator, which is now a smart refrigerator. Do you understand, first of all, folks, how this smart system works, right? And how there is communication between devices. They call it the Internet of Things, right? Folks, the devices in your house, if they have or are built within some sort of utilizing some sort of smart technology, which by the way refers to um, I don't want to go down another tangent with the smart technology, but anyway, how many different devices do we have right in our kitchen that communicate with one another, right? Every time they sort of sync, you now have this device located in this part of your house, this device located in this part of your house, that device, that device, that device, all of them pinging. And I said that it can happen or be generated by a device over 900 times a minute. Now multiply that by potentially 5, 6, 7, 8 devices in your home or on you. Come on, folks. All right. As Karma says, unfortunately, it's making people lazy and unmotivated. Yeah, that's one of the effects, right? Um, what does my think about this, folks? What do we know about microwaves? That they draw the moisture out, right? As they radiate the cellular structure of whatever it is that you're microwaving. There is a similar, no, not the same, but a similar effect, right? Um, of these phones. And when I say the phones, I mean the signal, the choppy millimeter waves, and the pulse radiation that is emitted by the phones. Now imagine if you have that amongst 5, 6, 7, 8 devices in your home or on you. Folks, constant exposure to electromagnetic fields that are harmful if we're talking about one device. let alone being caught in the middle of a field of multiple devices. And then not to even mention, again, what it's doing in your neighborhood. We're driving past this. Our children have to walk to and from school every day with innumerable electromagnetic fields potentially endangering them. And it's all avoidable, I guess is what I'm getting at. And for me, over the course of the last 10 years, to have essentially watched this develop to levels that to me appear to be out of control, it's just a heck of an alarm that I think we need to be sounding. All right, Marv comes back in and says, based in what we've come to understanding of ourselves, nature, and the universe, yeah, true that, right? Think about something. Let's take a little different angle on this, okay? Because I see the commercials for devices like smart tech, right? Like smart cell phones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know even for like iPhones, one of the things or the perks or features is that it can actually the device can keep track of your circadian rhythms. Now, you know, the only way to do that is through observation or some form of measuring of your brain waves, right? Of the brain waves emitted during your various sleep phases. Okay. So, folks, I ask you, if you have a device that is capable of receiving, analyzing, and interpreting the brain waves emitted during your various sleep phases, how difficult would it be for that same technology or similar technology to be utilized to transmit a signal to your brain during your various sleep phases? Did you ever think about that? Or do you think it's just a one-way thing? Folks, we can never be absent of common sense. When we become absent common sense, we open ourselves up to be led like puppets on a string. If they can measure and keep track of your circadian rhythms, of your sleep patterns, if they can monitor those signals that you are emitting during those various sleep phases, then they can also transmit. Call it a conspiracy theory if you want. Technology and science is what it is. If they can receive the signal, they can transmit a signal just as easily. Think, folks. And you want to open your children up to that? Mighty trusting. I'm just saying. Mighty trusting. Anybody else see concern in this? Anybody see concern in these devices placed in triangular configuration on our water towers in our neighborhoods? When we know how we've discussed it in previous podcasts, and certainly I have in a plethora of videos and throughout my books, that water is incredibly programmable. Do we not see an issue here? Mavi comes back in and says, LOL fam, you missed my previous post. Okay. I thought there was another post that might have been in reference to that. My bad. May have to read all the comments or longer responses because there are multiple messages. Okay. My bad. Um, yes. I'm going to go back and put them all together, and anything that I've missed, I'll now reiterate. Um, there are at least 150 FCC registered towers in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania alone. D. Almost every child has some device for school. We talked about that. D, right? Um, and when I say child, I mean anyone in school, because this is true whether you are in first grade or a PhD program, right? Based on what we've come to understanding ourselves, nature, and the universe. True that. So thank you, sis. Truly, thank you. And the point is reinforced then. How can we not be like honestly outraged that we have all of this occurring in an environment around our children, and we're asking our children to grow up this way? Now, folks, this isn't a judgment statement, right? But how many of you have given your children cell phones and allowed them to carry cell phones on them in their pockets and so forth? Right? But is it fair? Is it right that I had to give you instructions on how and where to search and dig in your cell phone to find warnings that you should have already been given by the cell phone company much more readily? Certainly something akin to how they market them to you. Come on, folks. They don't have your best interest in mind, or at least it's not a factor in their planning. Certainly not as much as this is, right? And don't get me started again on the depopulationists who just happen to be socially economic elite individuals in positions of power and heads of corporations like telecom corporations. No correlation. I just find it interesting, right? That the same people who felt strongly enough and boldly enough about the desire to see a culling of the population to the tune of getting world population, which is presently approaching 8 billion people, to get that down to 500 million. And these are the same people who head up and run the largest telecom organizations on the planet. And we see the sloppy, dangerous proliferation of 5G technology and other technologies at use in our neighborhoods. How about those towers in Homewood, Pennsylvania, that are up, that are supposed to alert, it's supposed to instantly alert the authorities, right? If there's a firearm discharged in the neighborhood, that the vibration from the firearm is supposed to set off supposed to have a specific signal, and certainly would have a specific vibrational frequency that would trigger this alarm and give specific location of where the firearm was discharged, right? What kind of signal proliferation do you think is needed there for that technology to work? And do you think there have been a great deal of precautions in terms of safety taken to make sure that's safe to have posted on poles and sometimes right on the buildings, right around you and your family. Again, mighty trusting, aren't we? I don't know about y'all folks, but this is our families and ourselves and our lives that we're talking about. And this stuff is too dangerous and being deployed far too recklessly, in my estimation, personally. They don't care about us. True that, fam. They don't care. And actually have been bold enough to come right out and put it in stone. Now, disclaimer, the Georgia Guidestones no longer exist. They were blown up, for anyone who doesn't know that. By whom? We can only ponder. Was it by the socially economic elite who placed them there because they realized, oh, we're actually paying attention now? Or by somebody in anger or in a statement to the elites saying, look, we ain't sitting back peacefully taking that, right? Either way, again, we know that the individuals who make up the socially economic elite on the planet have within them a very large and powerful faction who openly label themselves as depopulationists. So, and those people want a culling. And by a culling, I mean a literal killing, right? Like, what do you folks are familiar when they have a deer culling? Right, the oldest to the deer population has gotten too high in this particular area, and we got to call back the population. So they call a lot of people to, go ahead and take arms, and they extend the hunting season, and they give out provisional licenses and everything, right? And they call people to come and kill the deer off. These depopulationists are essentially calling for that for humanity. And they're not hiding it. They didn't hide it. They're not hiding it still. And many of these people happen to be, counted amongst the folks who would head up the major telecom corporations. The folks who deploy these technologies so recklessly and dangerously. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. Right? Folks, I'm just saying, common sense forces me to ask why and to question these things and to say, man, that's mighty dangerous and reckless. Maybe it's intentional. Just like the brother said, they don't care about us. Michael Jackson said it. They don't really care about us. Now, some people might say he was saying that from an insider view. I don't know, and I don't care to go there. But, yeah, they don't care about us. But we do. I do. I love all of you. And there's no way that I'd be quiet about such a dangerous thing. So please, folks, anybody else chime in with questions, concerns, or comments about these dangerous technologies that are, I mean, what about, does anybody have anything else? Is anybody else as outraged as I am about these potties with laptops built into the potty? So we already know that this stuff is dangerous. They already know that it's dangerous to your genitalia to expose these kind of waves to your genitalia. But they're going to put it on the potties for our children. Come on, man. Come on, man. Folks, we got to pay attention. And by the way, again, we cannot do this through separation mentality. And common sense demands that we don't. Because if those depopulationists want to see a world population of only 500 million, that means a whole lot of us are in that column that they consider to be expendable. Black, white, red, brown, you know. Yeah, everybody. They ain't discriminating. So why should we? I don't deny differences that we all have, right? But folks, right now, the number one issue that we need to be dealing with is the socially economic elite and their dystopian nightmare of an outlook for the future. We need to all get together and deal with that first. Then we could deal with all these other issues and go forward. But we need to deal with that first, because this is just one of the ways that they expose us to dangers recklessly, at least, and potentially intentional, maybe even likely intentional, right? Common sense, folks. What's their goal? Look at what's happened, right? I mean, if I walk into a room of 200 people and I say, you know, by the end of the day, my goal is to knock about, I don't know, maybe 180 of y'all off, $170, something like that. The rest of y'all, we cool, right? What's up, little one? Right? And they're killing the nature. We ain't even gonna talk about what they're doing in nature. So, but anyway, I walk into that room and I make that statement, and you all systematically allow me to knock off 170 of you or 180 during the course of the day. I'm just walking around doing my thing, bumping you off, and you just watching me. Is that really how we gonna go out? For real? Nah. Nah. Not y'all. Not people who's paying attention to what's going on, not intelligent, bright souls like yourselves, who I know better, who gonna go back into your neighborhoods and start to point these things out to other people so that we can start to organize and bring change. Because it's time for that. And it's a very simple process. Each one teach one. We've been doing that, right? Each one teach one. If we just spread it, tell a person a day if you can, right? Just, give somebody a little nudge, point it out to them. Point to a water tower. Have them look at a water tower and ask to themselves, maybe they ask to them, point out the technology around it and let them later ask themselves, man, I wonder if that's cool. Having all that around the drinking water for me and my family, the bathing water, the water we cook with. Wow. On your churches, your schools, daycares, nurseries, all that. Wonder if that's cool. In your pockets, in your bra, ladies. in your pockets, fellas, right near your gonads, as we say. Wonder if that's cool. Brother jumps back in and says, I'll check it out because this is news to me. Please do. That's what I'm asking everybody to do. Check it out. Check it out. You can start with looking right in your phone for the disclaimer. That should be a flag right there. Look in the legal section in your phone. And if there was no danger, why would they be warning you about limits to exposure and usage? Huh? Huh? Common sense, a heck of a thing, folks. It's a powerful thing. Something that the socially economic elite never wanted to be common. They want to tell you how to think, right? I don't know how many of you have seen my short warning about the dangers of censorship and the worldwide implementation of censorship that many world governments have been passing legislature on and acting on in various ways. What don't they want you to know? Some of this, maybe. I don't know, folks. I'm just saying, we got to love ourselves. We got to be responsible for looking into these things for ourselves. We have to be responsible for determining what's acceptable and safe for ourselves and our families. Huh? We got to set those acceptable levels and limits. We got to do that. Because we love each other. We care about ourselves. If they don't, we do. Huh? All right, folks. I'm going to leave a couple of more moments, a couple more minutes for anybody to chime in with a comment, question, statement, or, anything that they feel they want to say in reference to the subject matter. I think this is incredibly important. I think we all think and know that. Maybe anybody has any solution based. Let's start thinking more solution based. Like, what kind of ways can we organize at the neighborhood level and start to have some say so, right? And what is happening in our neighborhoods? Is it as simple as us sitting in on zoning meetings and some of these meetings that are supposedly opened up to the public that many of us never pay attention to? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. But we got to do something. Do we take more direct action? I don't know, but we got to do something. And one of the things that we need to do in the beginning of getting the ball rolling is educating one another. That's important because we all care and we love ourselves and we love our families. So we can educate one another. And then as we educate one another, we can start to organize at the neighborhood level, really, right? And as we do that, we can decide on organized group action together and what that looks like. Mavi comes in and says, this is the difference I was talking about, these different knowledge traditions. Our ancestors were working with a holistic knowledge base that requires you to be intention in your creation, to bring intention in your creations. True that. And when you do so from a responsible place, hey, Isha, thank you so much, my dear daughter, chiming in. Right, beginning with Marvi says further, beginning with working to understand how it affects all, right? How it affects all and how we live with it, not just doing shit just because we can. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Um, there has been a very irresponsible atmosphere taken of just doing shit just because we can, right? And not thinking about how it affects all of us collectively. But then again, that's how you behave in separation mentality, right? And what Mom V's referring to is the benefit of unity consciousness. Because when you have that, you think about how everything impacts all, all of us, right? Thank you, Mom V. Thank you very much. Isha, thank you for checking in, baby. Again, we were talking about very dangerous, and you probably have your own set of concerns as a new mother, right? With all these dangerous forms of technology in our neighborhoods and around our families, right? I even gave the extreme example of if you look at the water towers, how they have like 5G devices attached and affixed directly to the water towers, not just the actual tower structure, but right around the tanks, right? Many of them I see affixed directly to the tanks in a triangular configuration, right? And think about the harmful electromagnetic field that is being propagated right there in the community's water supply for drinking, bathing, cooking, etc. That's a clear and evident concern right in our neighborhoods, right, for us and our families. So again, I'm gonna leave time for anybody else to chime in with something else relevant to this topic because it's just that important for all of us, right? Thank you again, Marv. Some very powerful and important points. Thank you. Anybody else, please chime in. Please, please. Well, welcome. Talk to me. Let's keep the conversation going because it's an important one, right? Um, Always true. Thank you, sister. Anybody else? Please chime in. And we are going to start to take some steps. Even something we can do with the channel and the podcast, right? In terms of organizing. So I'm about to call tonight for me, brother. Thank you for the information and have a great stream. Hey, thank you so much. It has been great because of you and everybody else. I love you all and I thank you all. I'll probably close it out in a few more minutes, but I do want to leave another minute or two for anybody else who wants to chime in. Thank you, Sister Marvi, again. Always know we can count on you, and you have made so many of these conversations wonderful in so many ways. Much love, family. Thank you. Thank you. Peace and blessings, Marvi, sister, everyone. Thank you, sister. Everybody. Anybody else with any last minute comments on this subject? Because truly it's a very important one and how it affects us and our families. Um, Folks, it's here. This is something that's happening right now in our neighborhoods and in and around our families, right? So we have to pay attention, right? And we have to do what we can um, to organize and take action on sensible change. Anybody else chime in? Don't be shy. We talking to each other a little bit. Jump on in, chime on in, and say what you think, say what you feel, because all of it is welcome, beautiful, and real. Uh-oh, he ain't about to start flowing, is he? Ah. I probably will close this out with one of my songs, as I'm waiting just a little bit longer for anybody else to sort of chime in with us. Once again, folks, thank you all tremendously. I love you all and am very grateful to you all. We've developed a beautiful format here and a platform for us to be able to conversate and share with one another, to pass information back and forth and grow together. So thank you all. I truly appreciate and love you all. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna wait again another minute or two. While I do that, I may as well play another song for y'all. One off of my album. Let's see what we got here. Again, the name of the album, PLR New Paradigm. Excuse me. Available on all the popular streaming sites. Man, here's a deep song, y'all, that I hope you stream and check out on your own. It's called The Repeater, and I talk a little bit about this social structure and how the socially economic elite have been running things in the old paradigm and how they seek to try to keep that going. But we're changing things because we're going to spread at least awareness about it first and then organize for change.
It's the repeater, the real heater, the one that set it off and blow them off the meters. It's the repeater.
I hope you can hear that, folks. As we wait a few more moments, a few more minutes and moments for anybody else to chime in with a question, comment, a statement, or concern about all of the dangerous equipment and technology being deployed and used in our neighborhoods and around our planet.
They just move you through the motions with that Eisenhower spew. Shadow government's a true President Kennedy knew America as we know it is not a country at all. It's a corporate monstrosity that is destined to fall. When the real United States suffered its greatest depression, what did those desperate leaders do to stop us? The real question. International banking system, where the Fed come from? Why do international bankers tell our
ancestors we left that
our resources and the military's might? They're all just puppets, politicians on the left and the right. Only select few bloodlines controlling the world, but the future's every father, son, mother, girl. It's the repeater, the real heater, the one that set it off and blow them off the meters. It's the repeater, the real speaker, the one with mad knowledge, movers and tweeters. The military industrial complex grown way too large. International arms dealers way too in charge. Pharmaceutical industries far too powerful. Explaining in one conversation's usually an hour full. Devour full segments of the population.
All right.
Agriculturally spreading famine in the calcified.
Anybody else chiming in? Question, comment, statement, concern.
And our education sucks. We stuck, erupt with a call for justice. Vengeance ain't the same thing. We better now, so trust it. Bubble busted them false stereotypes in society. Elites want to murder us all. Race regardless quietly. Try and see exactly what I mean. Be the juggernaut rolling down the road of inspiration. Plug another thought. Now what I got from this process, we can all adopt peace, love, respect. Take it all or knock it all or knock it all or knock it all. It's the repeater, the real heater, the one that set it off and blow them off the meters. It's the repeater, the real.
All right, folks, so we'll just wait another minute or two. And I'm gonna sign it on out.
This country's a criminal endeavor. Sick how they take your natural freedom so clever. Barbarically using shock therapy, white coat thugs. Unethical doctors, experimental psychoactive drugs. They snatch you right out the ER. Just say you're combative, no crime ever committed, but they take you captive. Ever seen again? Maybe vegetative state or released as an addict, all courtesy of the state. Depopulation plans of the elites, not even hidden. Even carved right in the Georgia Guidestones warning given. We really living in the matrix right now. We gotta all wait from. You need a moment to soak it all in. Take one, take one, take one. Okay, then go ahead and get your mind right and say no waiting around for no halo. It's the repeater, the real heater, the one that set it off and blow them off the meters. It's the repeater, the real speaker, the one with mad knowledge, brand new covers and tweeters. It's the repeater,
Thank you, dear daughter. I love you. Thank you for chiming in. All right, folks. Anybody else? Comment, question, concern. All right. Well, listen, I got to thank you all. I love you all tremendously. I appreciate you all. I appreciate y'all tremendously. And we're going to have another, of course, wonderful conversation next week. Next Saturday at 7 p.m. sharp. We'll be in here discussing another important subject. By the way, folks can always recommend subjects or something that you want me to cover. Please let me know. You can always throw that in the chat if you or you can contact me directly. However you want to do it, I'll most certainly am open to suggestions and subject matter. I got a bunch more that I can throw at y'all, but again, I am open to suggestions, certainly, right? All right, man. I love you all. Thank you all for another wonderful, magnificent episode of Built with Big King. We got together. We shared information. We built together. And we're continuing to build this foundation of knowledge, information, and true unconditional love for one another as we share and continue to do what? To build a worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King S.1. I'm out.